Okay, family, I am live. I'm hoping that you can hear me very well. Speaking to you on a Saturday, and this is the thing I'm going to do behind the scenes. So if you like behind the scenes, great. And if not, you're not going to be watching for long. But what I wanted to share with you today is something that's a bit of a hack. And what I mean by that is that I do this behind the scenes because at the end of the day, you're going to take action. The big thing you're going to do is do your life, still live the way you're going to live. You're still going to see your family when you need to see your family. You will still work when you need to work. But here's the time hack. And if you find that you've got a busy life, if not, there isn't one segment that is like, this is the only thing that you do, you're going to get a lot out of this. I'm going to cover how I do things in the background, what I do to outsource, how I can bring together such a busy life with family, with kids, with the work that I do as a buyer's agent, and also some of the funny things that, I don't know, maybe you haven't even thought of this yet, but there's times where you just need to get stuff done and other times where you should outsource. And by should, what I mean is, you're going to have your genius. You're going to have that thing that you do better than anybody else. So in the spirit of multitasking, I'm going to do this live for you at the same time as I'm settling into this new property. So in case we haven't touched base in the last few days, we bought a house, meaning my wife and I sold the house we were living in and we decided to move 2 minutes down the road. The difference is that here we are moving into a penthouse level apartment. Great view, big, spacious, 123 square meters, so nice and large, but the view is spectacular and it's on the top floor of a building that's local to the schools, local to our work, close to the light rail so I can get through to the city at the right time. And it needs a lot of work. As you can imagine, this place probably hasn't been renovated in the last 20 to 30 years. So what am I going to do? Am I going to take time off work? No. Am I going to do all the renovation myself? No. Am I going to get dressed in paint gear so that I don't muck up my branded clothes, so that I don't ruin my now world famous gold tie and black shirt? No. What am I going to do? The same as what you're going to do. I'm going to multitask. Come in, change shirts, change clothes so that if I need to do something at the same time as I'm doing something else, I can do. But here's the thing I wanted to talk to you about. There's times where you want to multitask because multitasking can lead the people that are doing the best in a specific field into your field so that it's not just you, it's you plus a team. So here's an example. Write down, I don't know if you can zoom in and see that, but the skirting boards in this house need painting. The floorboards are a dark brown. So every time you do a little droplet of paint, it's going to be visible as anything. So I can pay a painter to come in and outsource this. They are fantastic at masking, at putting the tape down. But everything, A, costs money, B, takes time. And the thing you possibly haven't thought of is while the painter's getting their stuff ready, you can't move in. So that means that your family's now paying double the rent or double the mortgage. So you're either living somewhere and not moving, you're waiting for them to finish. So here's my hack. I come in and I do the bits that take a lot of time, but don't really require a lot of skill. I don't need to be a genius at painting to know how to draw one white line. And because it's water-based paint, as long as I've got a bowl of warm water with me and maybe some paper towel, I can fix any mistakes that I make along the way. It's not a tragedy. Really, we're going to do the undercoat on this and the undercoat on the skirting board the same color. And you'll see, especially if I zoom in real close, that there's some places that have a tiny gap. So I can pay a painter to come in, fill the gap, do a little bit of sanding, and then at the end of the day, it's like, hey, it's finished. Or I could just do the things that require drying time, sanding time, multiple coats myself. So when the painter comes in, they use the roller. I'm going to give you 4 shout outs, 4 people that I've used in the last few weeks that have really freed up my time so that I can get along and meet some amazing new people, get out there and meet new buyers, new customers that I need as a buyer's agent, and also expand my business. But I guess like there's other things like getting my taxes done, moving house, packing, unpacking, uh, decorating, and I guess the normal type of things that I enjoy doing. And hey, sometimes it's action all the way. Sometimes it's the relaxation you need, especially when you're moving heavy boxes and you're physically exhausted. You want to do something that just works. So here's the hack, and I'm happy to talk while I do this. So excuse the no eye contact, but you'll see and you'll understand that this is where the magic comes together. So what have I done? I've taken with me a little bit of a travel pack. So this is just simple bowl I brought with me from home, a few paper towels, just so that's easy to remove paint, some normal kind of like rubber gloves, just so that I don't need to constantly be washing my hands, and a deep enough bowl so when I have a little bit of water, then I can fix up any little spills along the way. And I don't know if maybe it's a sign of my long-term experience with doing renovations over the last 22 years that I found that these little things are the kind of the handiest things, but also the easiest things to take with me. So obviously you're going to buy your tin of paint, knee boards. It's funny, but when you've got wooden floorboards, especially if you're not just doing it once, you're doing it a few times, take a knee board with you. And the rest of the stuff, if I'm looking into the sun, you're getting too much reflection. So I'll turn it around this way, but you'll get the idea. Okay, so we've got the normal kind of primer, and you'll notice that you can hear me okay, so I'm using a headphone, so even though I'm far away, it makes the concept a lot easier. And listening and prefer to learn via audio. Other people prefer video. So I will zoom in, I will come in and show my face again. Meanwhile, let's just unpack. This is kitchen paint white. This is my 3-in-1 tin, which is, I use Torben, so 3-in-1 prep. Interior, exterior, that's primer, sealer, and undercoat. So the skirting boards here in this unit are a timber, and because they're wood, you're going to want to seal it so that the gloss doesn't just sink into it. Otherwise, the first coat of paint you do is just going to sink into it and the brown will still come out. And the final coat is another Torben's. I use Torben's in Jaw, but there's a lot of different brands. I prefer the Torben's, and that's the final colour. So where does the whole thing get slow? It gets slow because when you're cutting it, when you're using a small brush, I'll bring these through together. When you're using a small brush like these two, they have a great edge on them. They've got a nice little edge, right? So you're not bending too much. These little fiddly bits, if you're going to leave it for your painter to do, it'll just take them longer. If you can prepare the biggest things that slow them down, it's always going to be the cutting in. Especially, yesterday I had the electrician come in and finish. I'm sorry, it's Saturday, say. On Thursday, I had the electrician come in and finish. And what I asked them to do is just install new power points. The old ones physically were working, but look, this has got 4 power points. All around the house I changed. Why? Because I don't like having extension cables everywhere. And sometimes it's just so much smarter to give the keys over to the electrician, get them to do, I think we did 12 different PowerPoint stations that each had a 4 switches. So no more cables running around, but at least something that we can use. But physically, you know what's going to happen next. As soon as I come and tell the painter, hey, paint this wall, they're going to say, okay, well, let's mask this up so that we don't have to stop and start with wet paint. So this is what I do. Again, this isn't my genius, this is just normal. The plate that has the foregang has a plastic surround. Take it off. Easy. And what that means is when I can do the cutting in, I would leave a gap all around so that when the paint is rolling, they could do it ultra fast. Let's get one of them done because otherwise the day will disappear. And today's actually 25 degrees to 30 degrees or 25 to 27 degrees Celsius in Sydney. We've got great balconies with big doors, which means the drying time's really quick. And I'm going to do this in two colors. I'll start with a primer, which is white, and that's the same thing for the skirting boards. After I finish the primer, I'm going to do one thing around it, and also a telephone point, that's going to be the final color. And for this, we chose a similar color to the house that we had before, and that's called 1/4 hog's bristle. I feel in a way this is like a watch me getting ready type of video where I'm going, hey, this is what I do to outsource. But you know what? This is going to be a massive hack for you. It's going to save you time, money, and it'll bring you back to spending time with your kids, with your family, with your hobby. So you get to go out and play cricket again. You'll go out to the beach. You'll be able to go to the gym more often because you haven't wasted time. You've outsourced what you needed to outsource to the right kind of genius, but you've also been there to do the things that are menial tasks that are not difficult at all, but they just get stuff done so much easier. So let's continue. If you're liking this so far, put a little comment in the chat. So thank you, Adele. Painting 101, I appreciate that. Let me know other comments if you've got any questions along. I will be getting my hands dirty, or at least clean, but I'll have gloves on, so I won't be typing the answer straight away, but I appreciate your comments. And yes, I'm going to use a little bit of that masking tape to go around, but most of the time I find that I don't need it. But if there's an area I don't want to paint afterwards, then I always use this. But if the area is like a skirting board and a paint that's on the wall, it's going to be the same. It doesn't really matter. Air conditioning? Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm not going to paint the air conditioning and I don't want to start to play around with liquids and electricity together. That's not a fun situation to have. So let's get started. Now, the question is, can I talk and do without distracting myself too much? I think I can. Let's see how we go. But if I can't, then I'll know for next time. Look, the reality is the last time we moved was 10 years ago. So the funny thing here is I'm standing here and I can see you all. I can see you looking and I feel as if I'm almost talking to myself because while I can't quite read the comments, there's a few that do pop up. But sometimes it's like a soliloquy. I'm sitting there doing a massive Shakespearean soliloquy without an audience. So I'm taking a little guess, and I hope that that's okay. I'm guessing that the reason that you're watching this is because you live in a house that you're not just renting. You're not the tenant that's going to paint the house, you're an owner. Or if you're not an owner this week, you feel that in the next few days, few weeks, few years, you will become the owner, you will buy, and then you have the same choices I have of whether to hire somebody to do the entire job or whether it's something that you're going to do partially yourself and partially export out to a genius who's excellent at their job. Now, I promised you one thing at the beginning, which is that I'm going to shout out and compliment or tell you about the 4 people that I've used so far this week to help me outsource some of the things that I don't particularly want to do completely by myself. One of those things is taxes. If you love doing your tax, that might be your genius. That might be the thing that you do better than anybody else, and that's great. More power to you. I find that there's things that I love to do and things that I prefer to get somebody else to do. One of those things is it's not really the numbers of the tax, it's not the preparation, it's the pre-prep. So just putting some water in here. It's the pre-prep, which means getting all the papers together, getting all the receipts, getting all the downloads from each bank and each bank account. We do run multiple houses as far as investment properties go, which means that each thing has got council rates and water rates, electricity, gardening costs, sometimes travel times and tolls if they're in a distant regional area, sometimes even accommodation. So imagine if I had to stop everything and do a little project like this, where it meant that I get to leave Sydney and go do something random, far away, and still somehow maintain my bank accounts, transactions to take it back to the tax department. So I've outsourced two people. First of all, Ori. Thank you very much, Ori. And some of my friends met Ori for the first time yesterday. We had a wonderful meetup in Sydney where we had a speaker talk about digital marketing and advertising on Facebook, Instagram, and how to get your business from completely unknown and completely doing things organically to a mix between known and unknown, to a way to connect more specifically with the people who are actually looking for your service. So one shout out is to Katie. Another shout out is to Shani, who ran the event and did an amazing job of bringing a whole bunch of different businesses together, but making it easy for everybody to understand at whatever level they're at. So that's the first thing that I outsource. Instead of doing all the Facebook things myself and social media things myself, it's one of the things I choose to outsource. Second thing, Ori. Ori's been magnificent in helping me over the last 4 weeks. That's right. She was referred to me about 4 weeks ago, and we started working together. Her role is to help me put together my taxes, put together my documents, help me move house from one to the other, and separate the junk to the charitable things, to the selling things on Facebook, to the keeping things and moving to the new house. So once every 10 years, it's a long time to accumulate stuff. When you move from house to house, you sometimes find that there's no longer a need for some of the things that you absolutely love being in. But instead of mentioning everything, instead of, as I said, not wanting to be always in the action for every single part, I changed it so that the things that other people can do well, I get them to do, and things that I feel that I should really pay attention to, I do. So Ori, I outsourced a lot of my packing needs to Ori. So she's great with bubble wrap, with making sure that the champagne glasses don't crack on the way, that the crockery and the cutlery are wrapped up, at least in Glad wrap, around the whole thing so that they don't kind of slide inside the boxes. And physically, she's prepared things into the massive tubs, those Bunnings tubs, so that when we have the removals to come and they take the larger furniture, the fridge, the couch, all the other bits and pieces, we can simply move everything in one go with the documents already pre-sorted. The second shout out I give is to Lauren, and I met Lauren through Shani. Lauren is an expert from a accounting point of view, but there's a mixture. So when I was, back in the day, I love saying that, but back in the day when I was just starting my career, I worked at National Australia Bank and then moved to Westpac Bank, studied financial planning at the time. And I learned how to do a lot of the business accounts, meaning how to read a business statement, a cash flow statement, making sure that your balance sheet is correct. And that meant that when I'm working on a larger project, there's less distractions. What Lauren does is she takes a business, asks them about their vision, and then puts it through as their tax. So she's a tax agent, but she's also very clever in making sure your balance sheet isn't wasted. Meaning that if you're paying for subscriptions, whether it's a magazine subscription, an entertainment subscription, even a Facebook subscription where you get that blue tick and you have to pay for that on Meta, on Facebook or Instagram or your LinkedIn or your TikTok, all these little things that add up. So Lauren's a genius at being able to read the whole data set for the year and saying, this is what you've spent for the year. You should continue this, you should stop doing that, and really helping me get my business streamlined. So by Ori helping me organize my books and then referring me to Lauren, Lauren's got all the data set up so that her team that include local in Australia, but also overseas counterparts, are much more efficient at just getting through to the answers and saying, Amir, you need to change this. Amir, you're doing this well. Amir, let's make this a deduction as a once a year write-off. Another one is a slow depreciation schedule. That's her genius. So why I may have studied it 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Things change every 6 months, so find the expert. So that's a big shout out to Lauren and a big shout out to Ori. The two of them work together, great. The third thing is the painter. So I introduced Motti on my Facebook and LinkedIn. I think it was about a week ago. And Motti's coming tomorrow to see what I've done so far, so that he can organise how long it takes, when he can start, and when he can finish. Because you know what, painters don't do just one job at a time. Monty this month has already got 4 houses or units booked in at the same time. And what he does is, while one thing is drying, he drives out locally. He's doing one job in Bondi and I'm in Kingsford. So he finishes one and then he comes out and does the other one for a few hours because there's drying times. So rather than trying to do everything in one box in one day, he finds the most efficient time for the people living there. And then from that makes the decision of where to go next and how many jobs he can fit in a week. So big shout outs to Motti, to Ori, to Lauren, to Shani, and perfect, and to Katie. What else did I want to cover? So I'm going to start painting. So I want to make sure that I'm still doing things the easiest way for us. Wow, that's so smooth. So when you buy quality paint, this is a Torben's 3-in-1, there's a difference in the application and you really feel that it's so smooth to apply. So we talked about the hack of finding the right person for the right job. I guess when you start off and you're really exploring who you're going to have on the A team, who you're going to pick as the people that you want to refer and recommend to your friends, one of those things is going to be the person who buys the house or buys the unit initially. That's my role in the situation. For the last 22 years, I've been buying for my own portfolio or for my friends or for my family, my super fund. And 6 years ago, I started my own business, decided to get into business for myself because I found that just like, and I honestly I don't want this to come across as brag, but I felt that I resonated, that I enjoy doing the buying, doing the inspections, doing the negotiations on the properties that I was buying. I would never want to leave that for somebody else to do because that is one of the strengths that I actually love using my time for. So as a buyer's agent, I have the feeling, I mean, right now I'm estimating that by 95 years old, I'll still be working as a buyer's agent. The only difference is instead of me driving out to the inspections, I'll have somebody else drive me there. But I'll still be there to shake the hands, to shake hands and kiss babies, as they say. Oh, this is very good. This is going on really nicely. And in this part of the timber floor, you're not quite zoomed in enough, so you're not getting it directly, but I'll have to describe that to you. There's a little gap between the edge of where the floorboards finish and where the skirting boards start. So far, I've just finished like the first metre of it, but there's no paint coming onto the floor, so I shouldn't speak too soon. Not that it matters. But yeah, at the moment, it's really easy to apply this, and this is just the first coat. But this coat, the 3-in-1, seals it and makes sure that the timber doesn't stain the tannin and the other ingredients within the timber structure that slowly come out. So if you were to just use paint, so let's say you bought your favourite paint and it was glossy white or some sort of off-white, and yes, there's about 100 different names for the whites, from antique white to eggshell to a massive combination of the new names that I guess Dulux and Torben's and Berger Paints and some of the other well-known brands, Core, which is their proprietary name. There is a good variation, but whichever one you pick, if it's a regular paint and not like this Torben's 3-in-1, the idea is, yes, visibly it looks good, and it has a nice smooth finish to it, but it doesn't have the stain blocker. It doesn't have that space that just stops the liquids or the waters coming through. So why am I doing this at the same time as I'm talking to you? So we've covered a bit about outsourcing. And you'll see I've just finished a meter and it took a few seconds. So isn't it easier just for the painter to do everything? Yes and no. They will do it, and it's easy for them to do it. And do they enjoy it? Well, I mean, it's part of their job. They don't even think about it. But it took me a few seconds to do a meter. And the skirting board, so even though this is 123 square meters, the skirting board isn't on the outside. It's not on the balcony. It's not on the granny. It's not on the garage downstairs. It's only the upstairs. And what I see when I'm visually inspecting is I'm actually going through line by line that I can see some corners have a little gap, just a few millimeters or half a millimeter between one skirting board and the join that it comes in. And that's quite normal. You get that a lot, especially if it's not a brand new house, if it's been a unit or a house that was built a while ago. It's quite normal to get those gaps. But you know what? Just by visually inspecting down, and I was about to say down on my hands and knees, I just noticed I'm not using a knee board. So let's change that right now. Because health is important. It's one of the KPIs, the PPs that I look for, and that I want to maintain my health. So I'm not going to sacrifice my health without. I mean, this is like $2, $3. I don't know. It's been a while. You just keep it from job to job. It's just a little styrofoam, a little foam thing to put your knee on. But it means you don't get tired. You can keep going, and you don't get that grandpa feeling like, oh, I'm getting up off the floor. Oh, my joints. Oh, when I used to do this, when dinosaurs were around, I remember we used to walk through the snow. Okay, let's not go there. But getting back on track. So what do I outsource? I love doing the buying, the negotiating, and the going to auctions, the reading the contract myself. I do refer directly to mortgage brokers. So that means that if I was to buy a property myself, my training, my upbringing when I worked at Westpac Bank was to do home loan top-ups. So yes, technically I know how to put all my documents together, prepare them, and then go directly knock on the door of the local bank. Even if I go to the top four banks, CBA, NAB, ANZ, Westpac, it's quite easy to deal with them. I'm not going to get flustered, for lack of a better word. But I choose to go through somebody who's a mortgage broker. And they might be an aggregator. That means that they have multiple different banks that deal with. But over the last 22 years, when I've been doing my own projects, I found there's a massive difference in knowledge, but also in the action steps, how quickly they can get your documents through, not just to a bank, but to the bank or the lender, which means that because they already know the strengths and weaknesses of the particular branch that you're going to, they know that for one particular person, Westpac is going to be the best. For a different person, CBA is going to be a best. Somebody else, they're going to pick ANZ as the best. And what does the best mean? It doesn't mean necessarily the lowest interest rate. Sometimes the best means serviceability. That I'm trying not to use jargon, and you kind of get used to the same thing, saying the same thing for a long period of time, so you don't even notice you're using jargon. What do I mean by serviceability? I'm glad you asked. Serviceability means that I'm looking at an income, let's say, to keep numbers round, let's say my pay slips before tax come to 100,000 a year, 104,000. So 52 weeks in a year, 104, 2,000 a week. So if I'm getting paid 2,000 a week gross or 104 a year, the bank wants to know, can I easily repay the mortgage they're giving me? They're lending me money. They don't want to feel that if I pay the mortgage, then I'm no longer going to have food on the table. So they want to make sure that I have enough to cover my expenses, to pay for some of my hobbies, to pay for education, clothing, electricity, transportation, Netflix, Disney Channel, or whatever are my normal subscriptions. And so they look at the number of income coming in, and their calculation changes sometimes in a week because they have a discussion internally and decide what is going to be their capacity, what's their tolerance for lending new money out. And they might decide that their multiple, when they work out how much I can service, they take the pay slips and they multiply it by a number. Let's say that number is 5. Okay, so 5 times your income. If you're earning 100,000 a year, they're lending you 500,000. Let's say the number is 6. You're earning 100,000, they're lending you 600,000. What does that mean? Well, in Sydney, you're not buying property for less than a million. So $1 million unit, $4 million house. If you wanted to buy a $4 million house and you're a couple, you're a working couple, so both of you work full time. One partner earns 100,000, the other partner earns 100,000. The bank will say, well, that's 200 combined. Let's multiply it by 6. That's 1.2 million. The reason why it can be difficult to move for your first purchase to be a $4 million house is that if you're earning 100,000 and your partner's earning 100,000, the bank multiplies by 6 and says, okay, we can lend you 1.2 million, but the house is 4 million. So your deposit has to be around $3 million. Why do I say 3 instead of the 2.8? I'm glad you asked. The reason for that is there are costs involved in buying a house. Some of them are taxes. They're called duties. They might have multiple names. But at the end of the day, it all comes out of your pocket. So you can call it stamp duty. You can call it a duty on being a foreign investor. So the Foreign Investment Review Board, the FIRB, might add, say, 12% to your purchase price as the tax for being an overseas investor. All these things are easy to calculate because your search engine, Google, or whichever search engine you use, just type in what is the stamp duty on your purchase price. Look up or Google the FIRB and find out how much you're going to pay to be a foreign investor investing in Australia. So I don't want to reinvent the wheel, but just think of these things. Simple maths. I love to keep my maths simple because when I outsource to the lender, they're going to give me the real answer for the real bank. So I might just be guessing that it's 6 times my income. The bank might want 5.5 times. They might want 8 times my income. The lender, each lender, knows their capacity or their tolerance during that month or that year. And so it might be just the case of going to a mortgage broker and asking them, I'm earning this amount of money, I've got this amount of deposit, and I'm buying in the Sydney suburb of Coogee. So the average 3-bedroom house that I'm looking for has this price according to Google or according to Amir if you've asked a buyer's agent. Once you know the average price for the 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom that you're buying in the suburb that you're looking for at that right date, so I'm not talking about historical numbers, but recent numbers, then your bank will say, okay, well, to do that, we need you to have this much as a deposit, and we'll multiply your income or your serviceability, which is the word we used earlier, to find out what you're doing. Your lender will say, you know what, CBA is very harsh. They want more deposits. They want a higher income because they do a lower multiple. Or vice versa, they might say CBA this week is the best. But you don't know until you're actually working in the field. So this is another thing that I outsource. And I refer through to some very good lenders that have had years and years, actually decades of experience in the field. The second interesting thing is I know how to read a contract. I know how to read a property contract. Mostly because I've been in the field, I've been physically doing it for over 20 years. I've been buying my own property. Now, in the last 6 years, I've been working for others to help them buy their property. So I recognize things in a contract. But logistically, legally, The government can change what words mean and how they're interpreted and how they're practiced in law, which means I still need a conveyancer or a solicitor that's going to give me the actual meaning in today's terms of what the contract is. So I always read the contract first myself because I'm a buyer's agent. So part of knowing what I'm offering to the owner, to the vendor at the auction, is having a very good idea of what things mean. But I always get a contract review done by the conveyancer, especially before I bid. It gives me time to digest where's the aha, where's the gotcha, because that's something you can't walk away from if you've made a mistake afterwards. So that's the other thing that I outsource. And I will give a quick shout out to Con, who has just done my mortgage last week. So congratulations, Con, and thank you very much. He's in the mortgage space. And to Jelly from conveyancing.com.au, who's been helping me with the conveyancing this week as well. So thank you very much. I tell you the ins and outs because there's always going to be things like electricians and plumbers, etc. But these are the A team, and they're really geographically dependent. So my mortgage broker can help me buy anywhere in Australia. They're not fussed on which location. My conveyancer does everywhere in Australia, regardless of which state and territory. So I can use the same people over and over, and still get the result, which is legal and holds up in the state or territory that we're acting in. So, for example, my solicitor that was referred to once we finished everything was Jennifer, that wasn't the first contact that I had within the company, but was allocated to this particular purchase. And you'll find that you deal with the same company, so you get to know what their systems are. But once you're at the final stage, the final read through, then you'll start dealing with the actual solicitor who's negotiating for you, who's on your side. But keep the A team as your most trusted advisors. And I find that I don't really change much from one A team to the next. I tend to be very consistent with who I use because once you've used them once, you start recognizing how they work and what to do. I hope this is still as much fun for you as it is for me. Okay, I've got one that I need to take the plate off. So I might come back and do that once I get my screwdriver. And now we're down to this side, which is what we spoke about earlier with the PowerPoints. So all I'm doing is just following the outside of the PowerPoint. Because remember, there's a cap on it. So I don't need to waste 15 minutes of very gently going around the border. I just want to make sure that all the little gaps in between, this was just installed 2 days ago, the little gaps around the outside are just filled, because it's less than 1 millimeter, the little gaps can be filled with paint rather than using a sealer around, waiting for that to dry, and then painting. Mind you, the new sealer gun, the sealer that I use, is white and it's paintable. And you only need to wait 20 minutes before you can paint on it. So there's no longer a 3 or 4 hour drying time, especially with weather like this and balcony with fly screen. Things dry very quickly so you can get on to the next step. But yeah, that's my action here. I just go around the border, and once I put the cap on, it'll be perfect. So look, I don't want to keep you longer because then it defeats the purpose of giving you a hack if I'm no longer saving you money and saving you time. So I've covered the painter, outsourcing the painter, outsourcing the painting, outsourcing the moving, outsourcing the accounting, outsourcing the paperwork, the wrapping. We spoke about outsourcing the lending and the mortgage. And there's many more. There's the electrician, the plumber, so there's a gas plumber and a water plumber. Sometimes they're the same person, but quite often they're two different people. And if you can do a little thing by yourself, if you could do the beginning of things by yourself, then you'll find you're saving them time, which means they get to do what they're the geniuses at a much faster pace. And they'll come back for the second job and you'll be able to refer to them. They'll be able to refer to you. I enjoyed this. I hope you did too. Thank you for hanging around with me, and I look forward to showing you next Saturday some of the more finished version of this little neck of the woods that I call home. So, at that, have a great Saturday, Sunday. Use your learnings, take the action, because that's how you implement. I'll speak to you soon, and put in the comments anything you've got a question of, and let me know who you want me to recommend to you, who you want me to refer. Who are you looking for? Are you stuck without a tiler? Do you need a flooring person? Are you looking for a great painter, house painter? Do you want somebody to help you move house? Or are you just at the stage where you need to get a yes from the bank, so you want to show them the pay slip and find out from a lender which of the different lenders are going to be best for your situation, for your brand new business, for your income, to cover serviceability? How much of a deposit do you need to come up with? These are all great questions, but let me know, because I ask those questions just like you do. So I'm happy to share who I use, who I ask the professional questions of, and if that helps you, great. I will see you in the real world very soon. Ciao.